Well,
Well, thank you very much. I had it, my finger was on the recording button all along. So let's sing a little bit before we dive head on in. We're here, so let's start. Well, Hop is here, so let's start. Hine, hine, matov, matov, uma, naim, naim, shevet achim, shevet achim, kam. After me. Hine, hine, matov,
Matov,
uma,
Uma,
naim, naim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, hine matov, uma naim, shevet achim gam yachad, gam. Hine matov, hine, hi Susan, hine matov, uma naim, shevet achim gam yachad. Now, does anybody know the alternative lyrics? Because I forgot them. There's alternative lyrics to this that's not achim, but it's rather a different word that is not gendered.
it's Kulanu.
Yes, so what's it? Shevet kulanu.
Yachad.
That's it.
All of us, all of us.
Hine, matov, matov, uma, naim, naim, shevet kulanu, gam yachad. Hine, matov, matov, uma, naim, naim, shevet kulanu, gam yachad. Hine matov, uma naim, shevet kulanu, gam yachad, gam yachad. Hine matov, uma naim, shevet kulanu, gam yachad, gam yachad, gam yachad. Oh, it's a different song. Okay, so never mind about that. Sorry. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Susan, welcome. I can see the top of your head, but the top of your head's better than none of your head. Renee Dunham, I believe, is with us this evening. Isn't that lovely? And Renee is hiding, but we know she's there. So this evening, as we are being recorded, welcome to my friend and my colleague, Scott Reiter. And we are going to be introducing to you the one and only Minyan Oneg Shabbat Siddur 2.0. Have you all downloaded it? Whoa, Roxanne wins. She even printed it out. Deborah printed it out too. I hope you waited until the second email when it was in portrait, great, as opposed to landscape. Either way is fine. Is there anybody who does not have it with them? In either case, I'm going to be screen sharing it sometimes so that we're all in on what we're looking at. Okay, so here's a little sneak preview, which kind of looks like the no, are you seeing it? You are. Okay, good.
We're seeing a lot of space around it.
A lot of space. That's fine because I'm actually, let me see if I share. I have two versions up here. That was
You actually download that PDF off of Google?
Yes, and I have that.
Because you can make that look better.
That's true. I thank you, Scott. And I wouldn't expect anything less than you to want this to look as good as it can. Now, why am I not seeing? Oh, I see. Here we go.
it really looks phenomenal, Scott. I haven't told you, but I told Rabbi Mark. It's amazing.
I think this is, so this is it with, okay, let me just, good thing Shabbos mornings doesn't run this way. No, I don't want that either. I want to see. Oh, there we go. Open with download. Okay. There we go. Okay. Beep. Okay, that'll take a second. Sorry, you just talk amongst yourselves.
Because you have too many screens. You're looking all over.
Yeah, that's right. I bought, now this one has, Why am I looking at the? I'm also seeing the little things on the side. And I'm in preview. Is that should
Well, you can click on hide thumbnails.
can in preview I can do that?
Yes, of course.
Okay, that's probably under view. Hide thumbnails. No, thumbnails is hide sidebar.
Yes.
It's called sidebar there.
All right.
Okay, let's have a drum roll. Anybody? Nobody? Okay, thank you, Scott.
Don't you have the sound effect on your main
Oh, I
machine?
do. You're absolutely right. Where is it? Okay, there we go. Great. Thank you for reminding me.
Oh,
And
that's not what I meant.
this is not what you meant?
No,
Well, I'm not sure what you meant.
that's your whole desktop.
Oh, that's my whole desktop. We don't want that. And I don't want you seeing that because that could get me in trouble.
You can see what other tabs you're looking at on the internet.
Yeah, I got so many screens going on here and I haven't tried to do, okay, stop the share first of all. Okay, share a screen. And I want,
You see why he needed my help.
there it is.
There
Okay,
it is.
now you see that, right?
Now we see it.
Now
Yeah.
now I know what I'm searching for. All right, let's start this recording in progress.
It has been. This has all been.
Yeah, I can get rid of all of that stuff. So Scott and I thought we would start first of all by a quick review of what makes a Siddur. And Scott, what would you say? You're the editor and in chief of the MOSh Siddur, Scott. How are you accredited?
Yeah, I would say editor. We didn't have any chiefs.
So the Siddur for Beit Mishpacha here in Washington, D.C. is a real book, and you can actually pick it up as opposed to having to pick up your whole computer. So it's much easier to carry around. And so, Scott, if you would,
But we have phones. Mark.
and we have phones as well. There are certain ways that we could approach the subject, and which we're going to try to get a taste of all of them. Number one is what is the content that needs to be in the Siddur, in the Shabbat morning Siddur. Now, some of those questions were answered by the Siddur 1.0. And let me just touch upon one of those things, for instance, or for example, which is that I made the choice early on that I was going to be more machmir, meaning more stringent about what we can and what we can't do together as a minyan, and what prayers can we and can we not say in a virtual community. This has been a ever evolving choice among congregations of whether, for instance, to say Baruch Hu, which requires a minyan and is a virtual minyan, a minyan. And then another place where that comes in is in Baruch Hu, in the call to, did I just say Baruch Hu? Yes, the call to worship in Kedusha, right? So right after the first two pages of the Amidah, as it is in our prayer book, that usually goes in the Kedusha, and the Kedusha is said out loud or to oneself if there's going to be a whole repetition in a more traditional setting. But that also, whether you say that or not, is determined whether or not you have a minyan. So if you don't know me already, if you don't know me by now, my approach is fairly flexidox. Flexidox, meaning that my choices might not make a whole lot of internal sense, or it might not be how I decide something in case A might not be the same thing in case B. So, for instance, if we're not going to have the Baruch Hu, and which now, when I say we don't have the Baruch Hu, I've replaced it with songs that kind of hint at the meaning of Baruch Hu, the energetics behind Baruch Hu, and why we say it when we say it, and the same thing for Kedusha, just going into silence at that point. So why would I leave those out? And it's okay for us to say Kaddish together. Right. And Deborah, which made Deborah Lesk throw her arms up in the air, because that doesn't make any sense. Well,
because I was going to ask that question.
Right. So it doesn't make internal sense as far as the logic of not saying Baruch Hu and Kedusha. But for me, it always made sense because it's really about community and that the restrictions that we were under from the beginning and being online. Okay, I can live without singing Baruch Hu, and I can live without saying the Kedusha, but we can't be a community without saying the Kaddish. All right, so that I get to be the Mara de Atra. It's the term for the head. I'm the one who gets to decide. There was no committee in the creation of the first Siddur. So that covers that aspect, which is just one of many, many aspects of kinds of decisions that need to be made. I never gave it a second thought in the new Siddur that we were going to be including either of those things, because I kind of like it just the way it are. Scott, you want to not necessarily add something to that, but another kind of category of decisions? And it could be in, as far as layout, style, all those things too.
Oh, yeah, those were different things. I mean, in terms of what you were talking about, we didn't really make decisions. We went, I just came under the assumption that you had made those determinations, and I didn't even really ever ask you about them. And it's interesting to hear you talk about them now. And in terms of layout and format, you really set that in the first one, and we just followed that and expanded it in several different ways. I mean, obviously, and adding some things that you wanted to add in trying to be sure that all the transliteration was consistent in the right place, and what else did we do? Just to try to improve as much as we could and make it user friendly and make sure that it was readable for people, whether they knew Hebrew or didn't know Hebrew, and that there was always some, which I think you had, but just to be sure there was English that was helpful in people understanding what the Hebrew said, not necessarily literal, because I personally, my own personal opinion is that sometimes literal translations are very unhelpful in understanding what the Hebrew is saying. So we looked around for in cases where we didn't have translations already, we looked in different places. I suggested some that I found, and Mark did some that he liked and did some tweaking on various iterations of some of them as well.
And there's also, thank you, Scott. And I think that you, very modestly, or maybe you just forget the fact that you suggested the font for the Hebrew font. And I think in the end, it was your suggestion for the transliteration font. And then after Scott and I sent it out to a couple of people to look at, someone made the comment about people who are seeing challenged or colorblind, for that matter, might have trouble seeing the green that the transliteration was written in. So we changed it to a darker green. And as we go on, we're going to remember when we get to certain pages, kinds of decisions that we made. Every single page had something edited on it, even if it was just the change of font or change of font size, change of image size, taking out of certain images, putting in of more images in places we needed. Not, the choices of not to include images on certain pages was a very, very conscious choices on our parts, because we felt that, okay, there's enough going on this page, for instance, or it's just no room for an image. Some images ended up on the editing room floor, and some are new. And there is one place in there, or two places in there, in the entire Siddur that are dedicated, without giving credit to them, to two members of our wonderful community, one of which is Haf. Haf, you have something you'd like to say, and I'm assuming you've already looked at the Siddur and know what I'm talking about at this moment. Hi, Marlena.
No, I do not know what you're referring to specifically,
Ooh.
but I'll be glad to see it when it pops up. I was wondering if there was anything that was Zalman influenced in your go-round.
The entire project and everything I do is influenced by Reb Zalman of blessed memory. Yes, absolutely. And if you haven't read it yet, you'll see Reb Zalman is mentioned yet again at the end of thanking him. And there's I think one or two new Reb Zalman, not translations. You know, Scott was just talking about sometimes it's misleading or just ununderstandable. Is that a word? To translate something, because it's just the translations are sometimes not accessible, and even more important, the translations don't hit us in the tuchas either, in the kishkis, right? And so we were looking for the most part, translations that would move us, right? That would invite people in. Hi, Elka, welcome. So absolutely, Haf. Reb Zalman, I think, is all over this Siddur. Yeah, Deborah.
Well, I noticed that you added some things like the Rosh Chodesh blessing
Right.
and the Halal and Yusuke.
Yeah.
So we have everything that we would use on a service that we've used in the last couple of years.
Yeah, thanks, Deborah. And that your comment opens up the fact that A, it's longer. B, I don't have to screen share. People won't have to go like this, to see what's on my screen for Rosh Chodesh. Scott cleaned that up like a magician. And there'll still be times when I'm screen sharing lyrics. There's a lot of, for instance, this Shabbat, Mark Grayboys asked me to do Debbie Friedman's Mishaberach because it's closest to her birthday. And so I said yes, but it wasn't something that I wanted necessarily to be in the Siddur to use all the time. So we made those kinds of choices as well. I mean, we could have made this hundreds of pages long, but as we know from the Machzor, once it goes in, it doesn't come out. All right, so let's do it. Unless everybody has any reflections or comments, and I want to invite everybody to raise your hand so that you come to the top of the screen, because we'll see less of you once I start to screen share, and or just unmute yourself with a question or a comment. We're going to start right from page 1. Let's see, is this what I'm looking for? Yes, it is. Dun, da, da, da. All righty. So the only thing different on this page, well, actually, there's two things that are different. Oh, I can see you all over.
Can you, Mark,
Yeah.
resize the window just slightly so that we see a complete page in the page?
Yes. Yes, I can. Tell me when to stop. Let me see.
If you do it from the corner, it'll make it proportional and you will eventually see the whole page in your preview window. I hope.
Well, I'm not seeing it on my whole page on my preview window. I have to make it smaller right now.
Yeah, if you make it a little smaller.
Don't look at that page. Oh, how come my pages are not going? Okay, there we go. I have to scroll through. All right, so tell me when it looks okay. No, then I need to.
Would you like me to do it?
Yeah, you do it.
All right, you just have to allow me to share.
Yeah. Where are you? Security. Okay. Go ahead. Actually, Deborah, you were mentioning about those 3 things that were added. That was my initial impulse to do a second Siddur came from every time the festivals rolled around, and I was doing screen sharing Halal, trying to put make scene shots for Halal, like I do with these kinds of things, and being able to fit them on the screen, and can people see them or not? That was my inspiration. Scott, tell me when you're ready.
Well, that looks great.
Oh, great. Yeah. Why can
I was muted. Can you see all of page 1?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, so starting with page 1, I think everything here is the same, except for my friend Rabbi Evan Crame, who some of you know, he commented, and he hadn't even seen the Siddur. I sent something else out. It was one of the email blasts, and he said, I could get rid of the checkerboard thing that's behind the tree. I don't know if you remember. It was kind of there was other coloring behind the tree, and I said, "Go, let me see what it looks like." And so when he sent it back to me, and it was just the tree, I said, "Whoa, I got to replace that everywhere." And so that's the major difference on this page. Okay, Scott, let's go to the next page, unless you have something.
I'm sorry, I hit the wrong key and I was on mute because the Amazon truck is outside in Olive Oil Bark. All right, why is this not doing what I want? There we go.
There we go. Okay. This page is exactly the same. Again, the only difference is you'll see that the first number of pages are basically the same. The only differences, again, are the change to a wonderfully readable Hebrew script. Now, if anybody sees a kind of the first person who sees
No.
No, don't want to play that game? Okay.
You can play a game, I don't care.
Okay. There is going to be
If you don't tell them, they will never see it.
Okay, you're right. All right. There will be something about, now that we started talking about the if you see something a little funky it's not everywhere. It's just in a few places in the Siddur. We'll have the answer for you, but you have to ask the question.
And you will get a prize.
So looking at the transliteration, we really did our best to put, so there was a lot of thought that went into the transliteration. I don't know if you've ever tried to do this, but you have to make decisions about where you put, well, first of all, accent marks, you have to figure out how you're going to show what syllable the accent's going to be on. So everywhere that you see, like in Hareini, in Hebrew, the accent usually goes on the last syllable, but Hareini, instead of Hareini, you have to figure out, well, what are you going to use? And so Scott had that great little marking above the E in Hareini. Now, other questions, and now this is a really good example for this, Scott, isn't it? Where do you use apostrophes, and where do you use dashes? Quotes speak for themselves because a quote is anywhere that it's from sacred text. Okay, so if you see here, you have mekabel, you have an apostrophe after the M, in between the M and the K. And then you have a dash between ha and borei with a capital B for borei. So the capital B makes sense because that's one of God's names, Creator. But whether or not what that was going to be, whether it was going to be a dash or whether there were going to be more dashes, I'm the king. If you go back to the Siddur 1.0, I'm the king of dashes, and which didn't make much sense it didn't have an internal sense to it. And Scott and Meir Gale was very helpful here. We kind of came to agreements about when to use dashes and when to use apostrophes. And I'll let you figure that out. I'm not going to go into it unless you have I'll tell you, because I think it's really wonderful. If mekabel, right, where it's the second word in Hebrew, it has a shva underneath the mem, right? That's the vowel. So anytime a word starts with a letter and there's a shva underneath it, and that'll be consistent throughout, we put an apostrophe there. And anytime there was a word like haborei is the creator. Ha-borei, ha means the. And so that's a separate word than creator. That's why we put the dash in there. Was there anything else on this page?
You know what just occurred to me is that we didn't translate the introduction to the text. Here I accept upon myself the mitzvah of the creator. Is not in English.
No, you're absolutely right.
I just pretty much kept it the same.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's our secret.
Double-esque question. comment. Also, if anybody catches any typos or anything like that,
Don't tell us.
yeah, we're done.
Well, I'm not sure what else you could use instead of this accent, but this accent, just like the accent that is on Renee's name, that accent is the opposite direction, and it means something in a lot of different languages.
Mhm. Correct.
So
I mean, you have to choose something.
yeah,
The good thing about that one is, at least in any languages I don't know, and I don't know them all, it doesn't really change the sound very much.
mhm. I don't know very many, but I know.
Yeah, and there were cases where Scott and I had to decide, does this change the way that somebody would pronounce it? A non-Hebrew speaker, or is everybody gonna pronounce what doesn't have a lie? You know, even the spelling of certain transliterated words.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing perfect. Yeah, I'm big on these marks of some kind, because a lot of people think that you accent the last syllable of every single word in Hebrew, and when people do that, it kind of drives me personally crazy, and I think we all want to prevent that.
Yeah. Next page.
Well, question.
Oh yes, Neil.
The graphic at the top of the page with all these outstretched hands is what's behind that? Or,
You mean what's the reason for including that, or what?
yes, yeah.
Well, that was in the first Siddur, and it was just an image that resonated for me.
No,
There's a
okay.
heart in the middle of raised hands. I didn't think about this a lot of the images more than the way it hit me.
Okay.
After I put a lot of them, after I put them in and kind of lived with them for a while, I said, no, that doesn't work. There were a lot of stuff that we took that way, got in, and then eventually came out because it just didn't work for a variety of reasons.
But the
Okay.
palms of every hand is a heart,
Yes, that's right.
so it fits.
Oh, Jay has a busy night. Bye, Jay. Thanks for dropping by. Scott, next page,
Next page.
please. I think this is exactly the same thing.
Next page.
And also
Pretty close.
exactly the same thing, except for the fact that we reduced the size of the image.
I think that's a new picture.
Oh, you're absolutely right. We did change the picture on this one.
I forget, the other one was 2 something. You found this one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Next page.
This is the same.
Yep, also the same. Like I said, many of the beginning pages are the same.
And even where it's the same, we kind of usually spiffed up like the spacing or the
Right.
size, or just try to make it.
Yeah, I learned a lot about how to use Keynote, which is what we made this in. As a matter of fact, Scott, there is a place where it was music dash lyrics. Later on, we forgot to put a line.
Oh my.
This is not going back. Yeah, who's talking?
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a page where there's at the very end on the bottom an inconsistency that you mentioned earlier, right, Rabbi Mark?
No, you're even better than us. I saw what you chatted to me, Elka. Elka noticed that sometimes the ZL, the Zichrona Livracha,
Yeah.
sometimes it has a double quote in between, and sometimes it had a single one.
Aha.
Elka is like the champion of this, I know, from my own experience.
We've worked together quite a bit.
And I think, I thought we got all those, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But
That's what.
nice try, Elka. You get a special prize for that.
Next page. This page is very different. So obviously the image is different. Scott wasn't as crazy about this as I was, but I just thought it was so enchanting that
Notice the rooster there, everyone. Isn't that a rooster?
it is a rooster. That's right. It is
Anticipating the morning blessings to come.
exactly. So what we cleaned up here was modeh, modah. I think in the first version of it, it said an F and an M above them, but this is just much clearer. It only says that in the transliteration. Of course, got to figure that
I think you might have said men and women, and I said that we shouldn't be so binary and that we should just indicate grammatical gender.
Exactly. And this issue about binariness is going to come up in the one place where Scott brought something to me that I absolutely loved, and we're getting to that real soon. This is exactly what it was. And Elohai Neshama, this is a different image, that's all. I found an image that had Elohai Neshama in the Hebrew on the bottom, and I like that a lot. And all right, this is your page, Haf.
Right here in the middle. The Haf blessing was included with the traditional ones.
Haf, can you see it?
For all. I don't know if you said anything. You're muted, Haf. So
Haf, talk to us.
I'm searching for me.
We're on page 10.
I am too.
Here you
Okay.
are. You see that little flash?
The little flash.
Look after the records, the 45s.
Okay.
When I open up things to everybody to add their own brachot,
There's
and
no
you
way.
always say,
Health and happiness for all.
yeah, I don't think you see it yet.
I don't see it. Oh, wait. You can't always get what you want?
Keep going.
Yeah, and the only colors on the page.
Right underneath, Hoff, right underneath what you just read.
You can't always get, you know what, Jack or Richard. Voices arranged by Jack Nishi.
No.
No, above you give strength to us when we are weary. Above that.
Health and happiness for all.
Look in the center of the page, Huff,
Okay.
just below the line of those.
Too obvious. It was hidden in plain sight. I see it now.
There you go. So
Excellent. I'm glad you used all those multicolors too.
So I just have a question about the way that shows up. Maybe it was clip arted, but the for all seems
right.
like it wasn't quite pasted in correctly.
No, it's not that it wasn't pasted in correctly. It was all I could get of it, and I was so enamored of the colors and the block letters. I couldn't find anything else that came close. I decided, you know what, people will get it. And I'm not sure any other Siddur has, in the history of Siddurim, have been made where there's two references to, community members in an image without actually saying out loud, hop.
It's like throwing a pass into the receiver's hands. Worst place to throw the ball.
I take it as a great honor. I appreciate it.
So this, as you see, this was one of those pages that, first of all, we turned 2 pages into 1 page, which I absolutely love. How Scott did it, I wasn't quite sure, but he is the master of fonts and font sizes. After the first 2 lines, which are basically choices, right, as to what we might say as the bracha formula, we realized that we needed something in there as a demarcation, that's what those were. They were choices, and so thus the straight line above, you make us conscious beings, and so we fit it all without actually. Obviously without the entirety of the Birkot HaShachar, but the entirety of what we've always been doing in terms of which blessing we say.
A small question. Is it impossible to make health and happiness the same size?
Yes.
Okay.
It becomes, it just didn't work. I tried everything here.
Okay.
Maybe in 3.0 or 2.1. If you can find something, I'll put a 2.1 out there. It's like people don't care. All right, shall we continue? Okay, so here's a new addition. The Rumi quote was already in, but this is a different piece of artwork. And then the song is something that I wrote years ago for Ashreinu Matov Chalkenu. And sometimes we'll use it, sometimes we won't. But there's a number of things in here. There's more to choose from, and which that gets interesting when we get to Baruch Hu and to Aleinu, and in the way that we decided to lay out the Siddur in places where we had choices of more than one thing to do for the same thing. Scott?
Sorry.
That's okay. Baruch She'amar. So you'll notice that there is purple on the page. And also there is a line between the Hebrew and the English. So this is the first time where this came up where there was a lot of text on the page and no room for images, which was fine. But the comment was made that maybe we needed something to break up the color scheme and also make it easier, for people who have vision issues to read the English. So the two things that happened font-wise on this page were, again, the choice of a deeper, darker green and purple. And the purple arises in a couple of places in the Siddur where there's no images. It's only Hebrew transliteration and English. And here's another translation by Reb Zalman with quotation marks instead of apostrophe. But do you all know the difference between ZL, Zichronot Livracha, and TZL?
No.
So the T stands for tzaddik. And Reb Zalman was my Rebbe, and many Rebbes are referred to tzaddik Zichronot Livracha.
Actually, I usually use the double one. So to me, the single one is less optimal because it's
I think you're right. Yeah.
It's the double one in Hebrew. It
Right.
doesn't matter.
Yeah. When we go back.
Next
Someday.
page.
You didn't always use the TZ for Zalman. Sometimes it's just the ZL.
Uh-oh.
Okay, we'll take a
I
look.
only ever use Z. I never use Z, Deborah.
Oh, sorry, but the T. Okay,
I
you
knew
did.
what you
Sometimes
meant.
you use TZ, and sometimes you just use Z, like on page
You
5.
didn't have to translate. I understand Canadian.
Okay. Oh wait, it wasn't on 5. It's on. Wait a minute.
All right. Well,
Okay, I'll look again. Sorry.
tell us later. So
Okay, page 13 is exactly the same.
music and lyrics by the great Rabbi Mark.
Oh, wow. Next page.
It's pretty much the same.
Same.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's the same.
Just a little layout stuff.
Layout differences. Yeah. Next page. The next page, in the first one, it was impossible to read. I don't know how I even ever gave that to you all because it was really messed up. So here we added a couple of images and lined up all the hallelujahs, which was a big mess in the original one.
Always should want to have your hallelujahs in a line.
You got to have all your hallelujahs and your ducks.
Like your ducks.
Yeah, exactly right. So next page, here's an addition, Oziva Zimratya. And of course, we sometimes sing Reb Shefa Gold's musical setting for it. And this is a place where this would come in the liturgy. So Oziva Zimratya comes in Shirat Hayam, right, which is the Song of the Sea, which would, and if we were careful for everything to be in its proper place, in its proper Seder, proper order, as we move through the four worlds through the Siddur. And so there might be some times where I'll use Oziva Zimratya instead of Nishmat Kol Chai. So this is for the fact it's on the same page. Gives me
to comment on the English, Mark, because I noticed that we had a discussion which never really came to a conclusion. Maybe this was a conclusion. I was looking for various English, and there's various English all over the place, and none of them I really liked all that much. And, I figured, okay, well, I'll talk to Mark, we'll come up with something. And then I found this one somewhere. Unfortunately, I don't remember where, because you start Googling and you never know where you end up. And so I just put it in as sort of the placeholder, and Mark saw it and he said, "Where'd you get that?" And I said, "I don't remember." And here it is.
Well, but I did change it slightly. So if you have a former version of it, Scott,
Oh, okay.
I think it says, as usually says, God is my strength and my song. And I kind of reimagined it. I thought it was very sweet. You know, it's obviously Vayehi Elishua does not mean Yah is my help when things go wrong, but there is for me a taste that I'm always thinking about Zimra as that which helps prune away, Lizmor. You know, you've heard me talk about that before. And so the isness, the markness that divinity has given me, and where I've taken that in my life, with that aliveness and with divinity kind of like pruning away that which is not essentially me, that helps me to get back on the right track. Right? That helps me to realign myself to the divine. And so Yah's my help when things go wrong. I understood what it might mean for me, and now I'm hoping that it will challenge you and others to say, huh? Or to say, okay, let me think about that. And there'll be other so it's not a translation, it's an unpacking, right? That image on this page is way smaller than it used to be. And
Actually, it's new.
What
That's
is? Oh, which is the image?
the image on the bottom is.
Oh, that's right. I've been living with it for a while. That I forgot that you added this. So Scott found this. I actually loved it, but it was much bigger when we originally put it in. And I love the formatting of things is very important to the eye. So it's visually beautiful too. And I love the way that you laid this out, Scott. Next page. So now we're getting into the Baruch Hu section. Call to community, and you're going to notice on this page, on the next few pages, that in the right hand corner it's going to say the same thing, call to community, with the same little icon. And that's so we all know we're in the same place in the service, but there are multiple choices for things we might do on a particular morning. Scott, tell us about Brucha. Well, what the heck does that say? And is that a mistake on the bottom of page 17? This is really interesting. So
some people in Israel came up with new letters and a few vowels, mostly letters, that could be read. Well, let me step back a minute. Okay, so Bruchim Habaim is welcome in masculine plural, and Bruchot Habaot is welcome in feminine plural. And people have been doing various things to try to put them all into one word. I mean, sometimes you'll hear in some places they talk about, for members, they will say Chaverimot. If you watch like Aleph Smicha ceremony, they talk about Musmachimot, the ordinees, combining the plurals for masculine and feminine together. So what, I should have looked up the names of these people, but somebody came up with this. They called him, wait, there's two things going in my head. I think they called this multi-gendered Hebrew, although it's actually still binary. The idea was that the endings, you can see the ending on Baruch, it has a little yud, and it has most of a final mem. And then it has, under the little yud, there's more a line, which kind of makes us almost a vav, a little broken. And then if you look at the last letter, you can see that, yeah, there's kind of a taf there. It has a little extra foot on it that you need for the mem. And so you can look at that, especially if you're a fluent Hebrew reader, and you see both at the same time. And then you can choose which way to read it if you're reading out loud. If you're not reading out loud, then you kind of see them both at the same time, which I think is what it's really focused for. Somebody made a big sign that they put up on some building in Israel that used the Bruchimot Habaoim thing here, probably without even the vowels. And so when you look at it and you see it, you know, if you're a fluent Hebrew reader, it kind of is amazing.
So I just put in the chat an article that was in the Times of Israel about this, and from there you can do further Googling to see if you can find all of their choices, all of the new lettering, which I found quite interesting, but I didn't save it, so apologies. So like,
Yeah, and even though they advertise it as recognizing non-binary, I think that's a bit of an oversell because the whole thing is still, I guess, maybe 1/2 plus 1/2 equals a whole. I don't know. All right, we can move on.
yeah, it's still, I wouldn't call it problematic, but it seems like the problem that they were trying to solve, this was not entirely the answer to it, because it still remains somewhat gendered, and Hebrew will always be that, in our lifetimes anyway.
But wait until we get to later on.
Next page, Scott. This is exactly the same, but you'll see that same icon in the right-hand corner. And if you do that kind of flip, cartoon flip paper, they're in the exact same space.
Whoops, here we go.
And you skip the page. Okay, and the third page for that, we have two more choices. As we bless the source of life, which many of you know, and Baruch Hu, which is a call and response. But still, they're substitutions for Baruch Hu et Adonai.
And you've done those, I think, haven't you?
Maybe. But I learned something new in putting this in, is that the second one, Baruch Hu, dear one, was written by somebody I know. I didn't know that Rabbi Lev Friedman wrote that melody.
And now we all know.
Yeah. Okay, this page is the same, although it's the image is a little smaller. I think we made it. And that was in the original one, a Rilke. So now we've got.
Here we go.
Here we go. Is that the first one?
That's the first one. Should I do a little cartoon here? We'll go back.
Yeah. So this is the first of three choices for what comes right before Shema. We hadn't had any of a haraba, and I knew I wanted to add whether it was going to be the entire paragraph or not. I wasn't sure. Then I decided, nah. When are we going to do the whole paragraph unless we were all together in the same space? So this is a melody setting for this by Rabbi Hannah Teferet. Many of you might be familiar with it. Aha, aha, varaba, and it's a round. Ahava rabba, ahavtanu ya Eloheinu, chemla gedola v'teracham alta aleinu. Abounding love and compassion we receive from you. Abounding love and compassion we reflect to you. Then it goes back, aha, and so on and so forth. And it can be done in three parts. Halavai, we can't do that on Zoom together, but someday in the near future, I will have a surprise where you'll hear all three parts. And the next choice is, hi, welcome, Mel, is Reb Zalman's It Is Perfect, also a round where all four of those lines can be sung at the same time. We decided to take out the word in the Chatima, Bocher. In the last iterants, it said Baruch Atah Adonai HaBocher, and then in parentheses HaMikarev. But I always now say HaMikarev, so because it's my minhag, it's yours too. So I'm not even giving you the choice unless in the privacy of your own room. That's what you know and prefer to say. I also love the way it looks like the Yud Hey Vav Hey is walking. That's God as a verb. So even that was a choice, and you can see there's a couple of different fonts on this page, and it was hard to lay it out. And at one point we had Yud Hey Vav Heys like in three different places, in the right corner, the left corner. There was just too many gods to choose from. Scott,
it's a good thing we didn't have three gods.
Yeah, that's a different tradition.
And I wanted to remind people that if you do choose, pun intended, to say bocher, the correct preposition following that is be and not et.
Next page.
And can I just say that I was wrong about the TZ, and it is correct everywhere. I made a mistake. So Don't think about it.
Okay, it's forgotten. Next page, Scotty, beam us up.
Here we go. We are loved.
Oh yes, and so what we have been doing all the time is the third of the choices, and I made it the third of the choices because we'll probably do this more than the other ones, and then we'll just have to flip a page to get to Shema. Shema is going to look very different. Gets it's a lot of white space. Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's for your breath.
Yeah, to take a breath
Breathing.
there.
And Mark found those wonderful letters at the top. We were trying to figure out, should we put an image on the Shema? Should we not? What should it be? And those are just, I think they're just perfect.
And they actually are three different images lined up to spatially. That wasn't one image that I stole. Okay, so what's on the next page? So the next pages are more or less really trying to clean up what we already had, make them easier to read, and the translation.
You wrote untranslation?
I thought I took that out, but
oh, no.
I thought I had taken that out, but you know what?
It's very MOSh.
It's yes, it's very MOSh. It's very me, and
in two different places. I think I saw it somewhere else, so I thought it was intentional.
On translation, I don't think it's anywhere else.
It was intentional by Mark.
It was right. I hid it from Scott.
I'm getting used to it. You didn't do it on the next. No, that's
not on the next page. No.
Which is also an untranslation.
That's right. You could see it's much shorter than actually the translation of that paragraph would be.
And that's the truth.
Actually, I'm trying to do what's her name? Lily Tomlin. There you go. Thank you, whoever did that. All right. This page is completely new. This paragraph directly follows Adonai Elohechem Emet. In a traditional Siddur, and I like it because I was able to make a word balloon out of it, of all of ways to describe. Not even describe; they're all the nouns that are descriptions of godly attributes. Well, maybe not all.
They're adjectives, except for emet.
Yeah.
But anyway, and there's kind of a chant thing that you can do to that.
That's right.
Have you ever done that?
Oh yeah. I learned that from Reb Marsha.
Yeah, that's hers.
Yeah. And I think you can actually even chant it in the English. True and steady, correct and alive, honest and faithful, loved. Although I won't be doing that.
You're gonna have to practice that.
Don't hold your kippah. Probably won't be doing that. Next page is, of course, Michamocha. It's a different image.
It's still Miriam.
And still Miriam. And we divided it up into 2 pages. So you'll see the purple on the bottom, even though there is an image. We thought it would, again, but the image was black and white. We wanted to break up the color scheme again. And that's why we chose that. Next page is Sur Yisrael with a totally different image. So everything is not as squished together as they were. It's much easier to navigate visually. And then we go into the Amidah. So here too, you're going to see the same illustrations on the 3rd and 4th page as you do on the 1st and 2nd page, because the 1st and 2nd pages are all Hebrew and transliteration, and the 3rd and 4th pages are transliteration and English.
Whose idea was that? That was your idea, Mark, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was.
And it's great because for people who don't read Hebrew, as whoever is chanting the Hebrew, you can follow along on this page. I mean, you could follow along on the previous page too, but when you follow along on this page with the translit, you're also seeing what it means in English.
So you see the corresponding pages have the corresponding images as well. So 31 and 33, and then 32 and 34.
And I think this is newish English too. You did some massaging, Mark?
Yeah, I did. I don't remember specifically what it was, but
That's okay.
yeah. Well, Melech certainly does not mean regal one, but there's a regalness to royalty. But I was trying to get away from gendered metaphors as well. And this is the same, except for two. I think there's two different images on this, but this was in
We
the,
did kind of debate whether to put the rest in or not.
to put the what in?
The rest of the Amidah in
Right.
the book. And you said,
And I said, those people who bring their own Siddur, and there are a number of us, will just naturally go to the Siddur that they brought with them, that they like to daven from. And for the rest of us, we, just like it says here, I bring your own Siddur, or go into silence, or however else you want to use in this time. And so we actually added now a page following this, which is a part in parts of a traditional Siddur. You want to, so there's several things, Yismachu b'malachutcha, and then Elohai Netzor, and Yehu L'Ratzon, and Osa Shalom. So for those of you who don't know why Minyan Oneg Shabbat is called Minyan Oneg Shabbat, is there anybody who knows that I've ever shared that with? All righty. It's interesting that nobody.
you have, and I don't know that I remember it well enough to say it.
So first I'll say what I wish the reason was. So about 2.5 years ago, Renee and I went to where did we go? To the Holocaust Museum to watch a movie that was called Oneg Shabbat, about a kind of underground community in the Warsaw Ghetto that managed to teach its children and teach each other, and so continue to their studies without being detected. And they kept written records of everything that they did. And when they saw that they were going to be yet again dislocated, they put all of the records of their community inside of large metal canisters and buried them. And a number of years ago, this whole area, of course, was totally destroyed in the war. A number of years ago, during renovations of this area, they knew that some people knew that this had existed, and they were being very careful digging up the area. They found survivors who tried to help them. And anyway, it's the whole story about this organization called called Oneg Shabbat. And I'd like to see it again because I'm forgetting most of the details. But that's not why we're called Minyan Oneg Shabbat. We're called Minyan Oneg Shabbat because in Yisbechu v'malachutcha, Shomrei Shabbat, V'korei Oneg. And in one melody that a lot of us are familiar with, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, V'korei Oneg Shabbat, V'korei Oneg Shabbat. So there's the phrase Oneg Shabbat, a delight, Shabbat is a delight, right? And for Brangen, which is the oldest running chavara in the United States, that was begun, among other people, by Rabbi Arthur Waskow over 40 years ago now, a melody was written that's around to Yisbechu v'malachutcha, which I actually love. And it was my intention while we were all together, all those years, Scott, all those years, Hoff, all those years, Elka and Mark, live and in person, to teach everybody this round so we could sing about Oneg Shabbos. And I never did because it's way too complicated. I should have, I didn't. So Yisbechu v'malachutcha gets in here, and maybe we'll even sing that sometime, because I'm going to have a fancy way to harmonize and sing rounds with myself very, very soon, which is MOSh 3.0.
You're getting a looper?
Who said that, Roxanne?
Are you getting a looper? Ah!
Do you have this one? I need a tutorial.
No, everybody needs a tutorial no matter what looper they
It's
oh my
true.
god. But that looks like a very nice one. Yeah.
The learning curve on these things is very, very steep, but I did learn how to route all of my equipment into it. So I could actually, I made my first, not loop, but I could hear the recording that I made. So next step is to make some loops.
Wow. Very exciting.
Maybe you could write to Netta Barzilai, who won Eurovision for Israel. She used a looper.
Is that right? She probably didn't use it. She probably had others use it. She could talk. A lot guitar players use this a lot in live performance, so that they record a phrase and then they jam on top of it.
Next
All right.
page.
And then Osa Shalom ends that page as it would end anything. Priestly blessing is from the part of the Amidah that's missing, and we always do it right after this. And then I added on the same page my musical interpretation for the priestly blessing.
This is where you're missing your slash, music lyrics.
Yes, that's where I'm missing the slash. Thank you.
We're going to just have to toss this out.
Yeah, music lyrics. Okay, next page. We had decided, we made the choice a number of months ago to do the healing prayer here, as opposed to later on. There were several comments. I don't know if anybody paid attention to the fact that we were doing that. As energetically, it felt like it wasn't right after breakthrough rooms. And it feels much better here. I don't know how you all feel about it. And to that, I added Rabbi Shir Yaakov Feit's Brokenhearted, which is quite beautiful. And I probably would only do that on Yusuke. So we'd have to turn back, or on a day where it feels really right and called for. This page is the same. No, a couple of different. I think we took a little out of this page. And Scott put in.
Well, we made that one image smaller, the one with the Torah, the flying Torah scroll.
Mm-hmm.
And then you added the one with the trees, which is nice. And I think we took out that, you had one with Sephirot that were kind of.
Yeah,
that
was on the bottom.
Rainbow Sephirot,
Right.
Tree of Life.
But then Scott.
That was more than enough. And then, I was every week hearing you sing by the light, by the Torah's eternal light. And I thought, well, we should just put that in and attribute the music.
Right. So it's kind of like what started out as, just something I did, now has become minhag, and now it becomes Torah.
Now you can't take it out. Like you said, once you put it in, you can't take
it reminds me, I think Renee tells this story about someone she was once waiting to wash hands with on a Friday night. And it was somebody who was unfamiliar with washing hands on before Motzi, but she was game and she wanted to learn. And so she's standing in line. The woman in front of her, she takes off her wedding ring, because you're supposed to have clearance. You're not supposed to have any jewelry on your hands. The woman takes off her wedding ring and puts it in her teeth and says the blessing. And then finishes the blessing. She puts her ring back on. Now, you and I know why she was doing that. She was doing it for the reason I just said, But the woman now, who doesn't really know, because she's never done this before, what does she do? She takes her ring off, she puts it in her mouth, and she says the blessing.
That's a great story.
Renee would have to correct me if I didn't get it, but I think it's only her in name. Okay, Torah, Ultimate Breakthrough Room, the same. Continuing on, okay, this was a toughie. So this is a musical setting for the blessing for the new month. That was written by cantor Linda Hirschhorn. I know Linda; she's such a wonderful, wonderful person. And fitting all of this in with images was a real chore. And we actually cleaned up the Hebrew too, because we realized the Hebrew that I was using wasn't really correct. And so we rewrote just a little bit of the Hebrew, but for the most part, everything is in there. It was a mess trying to share that, online, for you all to screen share that with you. But this is really, I'm very proud of this page, Scott. And if you look closer, you got the whole zodiac on the bottom that corresponds to Hebrew months. There's those letters again for O's that was there for Shema. It was on the same website. I found that. And otherwise, the rest of the page is the same, except for giving credit to Yoel and Daphne. So, they're the original members of Nava Tehillah, and Nava Tehillah's music is for the most part credited to those who wrote them. So I thought it would only be fair to do that as opposed to say Nava Tehillah.
And we did look up, we didn't know if it was Yoel or Daphne, but Mark found that it was attributed to both of them. It was like a Lennon McCarthy moment.
There you go. Next page. Oh, am I glad I don't have to screen share this anymore. So again, we kind of cleaned it up, and I just love the layout of everything. That's one of the I think one of the things I'm most delighted about and proud of is how visually easy on the eye the Siddur. I hope you agree with me, and that the images all serve to complement the text, and that the text is laid out in ways that's easy to read, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
So now,
when you used to screen share this, it looked like you were sitting with the lion and the
yeah, so that the MOSh shall lie down with the lion. You know what? You know what Woody Allen said about the lion and the lamb. And one day the lion will lie down with the lamb, but the lamb won't get much sleep. So now this is Aleinu like Baruch Hu. You're going to notice, and like the Shema, you're going to notice the same icon for saying all 3 pages. So then we have and then, which is the same, and then we have V'hashevota, which is again Shir Yaakov's musical setting for this. So we have 3 different choices for Aleinu.
And we throw in a little bit of Ushama, Ushama, which I think you often sing.
I do often say that, yeah.
The text.
Yeah, you did that without asking.
Because well, you know what? A couple of the weeks when we were working on this, if not more than a couple, I did, so to speak, I took notes to make sure that what we had on the page was what you were doing and if it should be or not. Because you were doing a lot of stuff very, very regularly that wasn't in the book.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, if you do that all the time, then it should be in the book.
I completely agree. Little did I know how close attention you were paying.
Some weeks,
All right, Kaddish Yatom. It's just so much cleaner. You know that a lot in the first Siddur was taken directly from Rabbi Marsha Prager's Siddur with her permission. And I wanted all of that out.
Well, a couple reasons. I mean, there was nothing wrong with it, and it works fine when you have it as a book.
Right.
But on the screen, it didn't quite translate so well. It was hard to see. There was a lot of very teeny English and transliteration, and
right.
We did not put in. Oh, the English is on the next page. Oh, and this is the English that's in her book, which is really kind of cool. I never paid attention to it till we were working on this, because it says it matches the assonance, cadence, and rhythm of the Aramaic. And maybe you should actually do it in English sometime. I don't know.
Thank you, Scott. I think I will.
Because that would be meaningful for people who just sort of parrot words. And
I think
it's Aramaic anyway. I don't speak Aramaic.
That's right. It's very, very difficult to understand. It does feel like a mantra, and this is what he's trying to replicate.
It's interesting.
The cadence and rhythm. Now, if Shulamit was here, Shulamit would also delight in this page, because that image was for her. This was the other example of a certain page being dedicated to someone.
And also what's the word? Emblematic of MOSh. You won't find this anywhere else.
Maybe you should put the notes above so she gets the tune right every time.
Whoa! Ooh.
Do I have to do a what's her name? Rosemary Woods, like 6-second clip of that, a 15-second clip of that?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean that. I love the way she does it.
All righty, next page. Scott had no idea I was even working on this.
Pure Mark.
This is me. It hit me as we were about to go to press that there were so many quotes in here by non-Jews Also, quotes by Jews as well. But I wanted a page just of quotes that would take us perhaps a little deeper into why we do this, and even the Groucho quote speaks to me in a funny yet serious way. If you've heard the story before, don't stop me because I'd like to hear it again. I mean, it's kind of like, how we begin the Torah all over again, and we turn it and we turn it and turn because we want to hear it again and again. There's more to get each time we learn the story.
Not just that, but every week we say that, or every day for some people, say the same prayers.
Absolutely, that's right. And thank you and then I realized it was all or mostly women's quotes. And so I sent out word to a couple of people, and Deborah Lesk found the, whose quote was it? The Ruth Bader Ginsburg quote. So often in life, things that you regard as an impediment turn out to be great good fortune.
Oh, but you didn't italicize her. Oh, wow.
Oh, you're right. You're very
If that's the
sensitive.
worst. If that's the worst typo.
Absolutely.
I thought that was very American of me, Americanized.
She deserves to be in bold letters.
All right, we're making our way to the end. So now we've got Halal. This is self-explanatory. I love the way that Scott got the image into the background of this. This is definitely not a translation. And I can't really tell you, I can tell you how it came together, but I can't tell you what the sources were because I looked at so many translations for this, and then I added my own as well. That just felt more alive and more inviting.
It's very close. It just brings out some abilities.
Then we have Psalm 115. Again, so we have the three colors. Not all of Hallel is in here, just the things that kind of like the best of, but I think did get a lot in. Psalm 118, which includes a lot of great stuff. Min HaMetzar, Oziv Zimratya, Pitchuli, Odach. I mean, these are all singable and divided into paragraphs, all of which have different musical settings for them.
The greatest hits.
Mm-hmm. Ana Hashem, and then the Chatima. And it was one from the last days we were working on this. I found the live long and prosper. I couldn't resist.
Well, we kind of debated, I think, how to translate Hatzlicha na, because we saw different translations.
Right.
And somewhere there was the prosper. Maybe you had that originally.
Mm.
And then we thought, okay, we knew we were going for that. We just had to find an image that worked, and you found that one.
Right. And then we're into Yisker, which is the last part of the Siddur. This is the same. This was a chore, and Scott really did a great job here. I hope people will. I think people will you'll need to look at this before you actually, because I think if you come to it right away, your eyes might get a little confused. But there is him, her, and them, which I really appreciated. And
also part of the challenge of this is that in a traditional Siddur, there's a lot of different choices. You have separate ones for your father, your mother, your spouse, or wife, husband, it probably says, et cetera, son, daughter, God forbid, all that stuff. And so, the first choice is, well, how do you do that without making all those pages? And so you just sort of leave blanks, and people know who they're remembering. And so then I wanted to also reflect the idea that some people use different pronouns, which is, if you look at the English, it's kind of easier to do that. That was kind of a little hard to set up, but once it got together, it seemed to look like it would be readable and just sort of a nice change from slashes. Slashes make sentences hard to read.
Yeah.
But the challenge was in, well, what do I put in for the Hebrew? Because, people are semi-used to the idea that maybe they could be singular in English. Shakespeare did it, if you know that. And we do it all the time without even thinking about it. Like, did you see that person that came in? I don't know who they were, right? But in Hebrew, they is gendered also. There's two different ones. So there's another project that some people have been working on, which is to have, it's basically neuter gender in a sense for Hebrew, which is it's very radical and out there, but that's what I used on the them paragraph. And we can, if anybody's interested, we can look at that in more detail. So basically just changing the endings of words and sort of creating a third option.
Right.
When I first saw it, it kind of broke my brain, but I spent some time thinking about it.
And I think that when we do Yusuke, I'm going to have to explain that those lines to fill in, it shows in the English, the soul of my relationship, my father, and then the name, but it doesn't say that in the Hebrew. And so and most people who say Yusuke know that goes in there, but that's usually written in there in traditional prayer books, but there was no way we could fit that in. Next line, next page. El Mali Rachamim speaks for itself.
Well, I'm just going to go back a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, we had some discussion about the translation, but I don't think
Yeah.
there's that much to be said there. Okay.
And I want to be mindful of time. We're already running a little bit.
Psalm 23.
Mizmor LeDavid, again, you see the purple, and the translation is not accredited because again, it was a mashup for me. And then Kaddish Yatom, where we didn't put the other version of it, but that's okay. The English version, Richard's. This page was in the original one, and then we get to the page.
Oh, this page was not.
This page was. Oh no, it wasn't the original Siddur, but it was.
We didn't have Yisker at all. This is
That's
a little
right.
note on Yisker,
Right.
which you can read if you.
I added it when I did a separate booklet for Yusuke.
Okay.
And last but not least, well, there's 2 pages left, and this is the credit page.
A little update, but still.
It's basically pretty close to the same, except for the fact that I love the little icons it came up with right before my Rebbe, and also with Renee's name and the ones before other people's names. To Scott Reiter for his wisdom, humor, and creative input. And then Rabbi Moshe Prager, without whom I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you, and who served an inspiration. And to all of you Moshniks who fill in the white spaces. And I figured you would know what that meant. Then, of course, the last page.
It's a new river.
Oh, it's a new river. You're right. Okay, I just got to keep you on your toes. So this is John Donahue. I don't know if you've noticed it before, but it stands out more now that I use to close out all of our Wednesday afternoon meditations with a melody that I wrote.
I took your advice today, Mark, and I listened to the Kristen Tibbett interview, and it was fabulous, as you said.
Yeah, what Hoff is talking about is a fabulous interview years ago that Krista Tippett on Being did with John O'Donohue. It's Roxanne, had you listened to that? Yeah, really beautiful. And when he talks about beauty, it just knocks my socks off. Okay, my friends, any last reflections? Deborah, I see you have your hand up before we say good night.
On page 54, it says continue on page 39.
Yes, that's because that's the end of Yisker. We might be, is that the end of Yisker?
At the end.
No, at the end of Halal, right. That's because Halal will then lead into the Torah service in Amidah. I mean, will lead into the Torah service. Sorry.
So when we do Halal, we will be told to jump to the back, and then that will tell us to go back.
Right. So that was another choice of deciding to put it towards the back, because we only do it a couple of times a year versus putting it where. But even in Siddurim like this, you think it's hard to. This is where it's most difficult to find, and the art scroll, because they put things all over the place.
Hey, Rabbi Mark, are you going to use this on Saturday?
Yes, I am.
I want to apologize in advance. I'll be in an airplane, so I won't be able to relish the first reading.
Okay. Are you going to record something for us, though?
I'll see what I can do.
All right. Gotcha. You can always just send something and it can be done in your behalf.
Thank you.
I think this Siddur is fabulous.
Thank you.
Absolutely fabulous.
I doubled Scott's salary.
So Scott, 2 times 0 is 0.
It really was a labor of love, and every moment, Scott, that you and I were together, I just rejoiced in it.
But we had a great time. It was a lot of fun.
We'll have to come up with it. So at the end of when we were done, then I said, "Okay, Moxor next," and we both rolled our eyes. All right, let's say goodnight. Hine mato manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine mato manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine mato shevet kulanu gam yachad. Hine mato shevet kulanu gam yachad. Rai 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 rai. Hine mato shevet kulanu gam yachad. Hine mato shevet kulanu gam yachad. Thanks, everybody. Coming attractions this Shabbat morning. Purim is only a number of weeks away. If anybody has ideas of what to do on Purim night, I have some, but if you have any, please don't be shy. Renee is going to be teaching her famous Hamantaschen baking class again this year on the Sunday before Purim from 7 to 9 o'clock. Also, if you have not yet studied storytelling with us, I think everybody has. We're doing another series of classes in March, and those dates that'll be soon in the email blast, and you'll see those. But if you're interested, let us know.
Renee, I still have prune and mun in the freezer from last year.
That is just wrong. I think there's actually a religious dictate that you must consume them before.
Oh, no, there is.
This point.
Really? Should we ask the rabbi?
Well, you shouldn't have had it around for Pesach.
It's like,
Oh, this is Purim.
it's like Pesach.
Oh,
with
it was
mustard.
in the freezer.
Yes, you're right.
I sold my freezer to David.
No, you're definitely supposed to eat them by the end of February, Scott.
Not
You have a lot of
Hamantaschen, just the filling.
Well, you just have.
Oh, it's just the filling. You don't have Hamantaschen.
Oh, no, I would have eaten those by now.
Okay.
The
The filling is acceptable. Although because of the conflation of Purim and St. Patty's this year, I think I'm going to try and come up with some green fillings to teach. My favorite that I'm thinking of this year is to make a savory Hamantash that's sort of like a samosa with potato and a cilantro topping chutney.
Ooh,
Mm.
watch this
Get
space.
pesto.
You
Right.
could do pistachio or mint chocolate chip.
Yes, honey pistachio. I was going to see if I could make it come out green enough.
And if someone could come up with a name for the intersection of Purim and St. Patrick's Day, that's what we're going to call the night. Someone did send one in, but did you send that to me, Deborah? It was from somebody else. I know who it was from. It was something like Esther Go Bra. It was like,
Yeah,
Go bra.
Go Bra. I think it's actually kind of funny. And if it's the only entrance, that's what it is.
No, we're not obligated to use it.
Okay. All righty, everybody.
On that note,
On
good night.
that note,
Great to see you.
thank
all.
you, Scott. Next week, the Marx Brothers are back teaching on Modeh Ani.
Bye. Good
Bye.
night.
Bye.